Hey everyone, and welcome back to the English Learning Podcast. I'm Jason, your host for today.
And I'm Julia, your co-host. We're so glad you're here with us for another episode that's all about helping you speak English with more confidence and less fear.
Exactly. And today's episode is a special one. It's called Fluency Loves Mistakes. Yep, you heard that right. We're going to talk about why making mistakes is actually a good thing when you're learning to speak English.
That's right. So many learners think they have to be perfect before they start speaking. But the truth is, waiting for perfection actually slows you down.
Totally. I've worked with students who knew all the grammar rules, had amazing vocabulary, but still struggled to speak because they were afraid of making mistakes.
And I've seen learners who speak every day mess up all the time and still improve way faster than the perfectionists.
So if you've ever felt nervous about speaking because you're scared of saying something wrong, today's episode is for you.
We're going to bust some myths, share real examples, and give you tips to stop fearing mistakes and actually use them to boost your fluency.
Let's dive in because fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about being brave.
And a little messy, and definitely human.
All right, let's get into it. So, Julia, let's start by talking about this big myth that a lot of English learners believe, the myth of perfect English.
Oh yes, the classic, I can't speak until I speak perfectly idea. Honestly, it's one of the biggest things holding people back.
Totally. It's like people are waiting for the perfect moment, when their grammar is flawless, their vocabulary is rich, and their accent sounds like a native speaker. But that moment, it never comes.
Exactly. And the sad part is, people waste months or even years just listening and studying, but never actually speaking.
You know what's interesting? I once had a student named Ricardo. Super smart guy. He had a notebook full of vocabulary, did grammar drills every day, but in class, he barely spoke.
Let me guess, he was afraid of making a mistake?
Spot on. He'd start a sentence, hesitate, and then say, "Sorry, I don't know how to say it right." He knew the words, but he was paralyzed by this pressure to be perfect.
And that pressure kills fluency. It's like trying to write a poem, but editing every word as you go, you never get the words out.
Exactly. Fluency is flow. It's messy. It's imperfect. It's human.
And the funny thing is, native speakers make mistakes all the time. We forget words, mix up tenses, say things like or you know, but we keep going.
Right? If you ever listen to a real conversation between two native speakers, it's full of small errors and corrections. But we don't stop to fix every single word. We just keep talking.
So why do learners feel like they have to speak perfectly every time?
Great question. I think it comes from how we're taught. In school, we're told to get the grammar right, to avoid mistakes, to get the correct answer. But in real life, communication matters more than correctness.
Yes, the goal is to connect, not to impress. If someone understands what you mean, you've succeeded even if you made 5 grammar mistakes along the way.
So let's break the myth right here. You don't need perfect English to speak fluently. You need practice, patience, and a willingness to mess up.
And that's what fluency is really built on. Not fear, but freedom. The freedom to speak, to make mistakes, and to grow from them.
Amen to that. Coming up next, we'll talk about what fluency actually means, because it's not what most people think.
Okay, so now that we've shattered the myth of perfect English, let's talk about what fluency actually means, because a lot of people misunderstand it.
Yeah. People often think fluency means speaking fast or having a native-like accent, but that's not really it.
Not at all. Fluency isn't about speed, it's about flow. It means you can express your thoughts smoothly without stopping every few seconds to translate in your head.
Exactly. It's like when you're in a conversation and the words come out naturally. Maybe not perfectly, but they come out without major pauses or panic.
I always tell my students, fluency means you can keep the conversation going. You might pause to think or use simpler words, but you don't freeze.
Right. And you don't have to know every word. You just need to be able to work around what you don't know. That's a real skill.
Totally. Like, let's say you don't remember the word microwave. A fluent speaker might say, that machine that heats food fast. It's not perfect, but it works.
And that's the magic fluency is problem solving. It's creativity in real time.
You know, I once had a student who said, I don't know the word in English, but it's like when your heart feels full of sunshine. I was like, okay, that's poetic and I get what you mean.
Haha, that's awesome. That's fluency right there. Communicating feelings, ideas, meaning even if your grammar isn't textbook perfect.
And let's be honest, even native speakers pause, repeat themselves, change direction mid-sentence. That's all part of real communication.
So if you're listening to this and thinking, I'm not fluent because I make mistakes, don't worry. That's not what fluency means.
Fluency means you can keep going. You're comfortable in the chaos of conversation.
Yes. Think of fluency as dancing, not marching. It's flexible, it flows, and sometimes you step on a few toes, but you keep dancing.
That's a great image. So remember, fluency is about flow, not flawlessness.
Coming up next, we're going to talk about why mistakes are not just okay, but actually good for your English learning journey. All right, now let's talk about something super important and maybe surprising to some of our listeners. Mistakes are not just okay. They're actually good for learning English.
Yes, mistakes are proof that you're trying, you're practicing, and you're pushing your limits. Without mistakes, there's no real progress.
You know, we've all heard that phrase, practice makes perfect. But I like to say, practice makes progress. And progress is filled with mistakes.
I love that. And think about how we learn anything new, riding a bike, cooking, playing guitar. You don't expect to get it right the first time.
Exactly. When you were a kid learning to ride a bike, you probably fell off a few times. But no one said, "Oh, you fell. You're bad at biking." They said, "Get back up and try again."
It's the same with English. When you say something wrong, it's just a small fall. You learn from it, adjust, and try again.
Right. And those little falls, those mistakes actually make your brain stronger. There's a whole learning loop at play.
Yes, you speak, you make a mistake. You get feedback from your teacher, a friend, or even yourself, and then you improve. That loop builds real fluency over time.
And here's the cool part. The more comfortable you are making mistakes, the faster you learn. Because you're not stuck in fear, you're in motion.
That's the key, motion. I had a student once, Maria, who made tons of mistakes. She'd mix up tenses, forget articles, but she talked. All the time, in every class, and guess what?
Let me guess she improved like crazy?
Exactly. By the end of the semester, she was so much more fluent than students who barely spoke because they were afraid of being wrong.
It's wild, right? Sometimes the people who make the most mistakes end up learning the most because they're active in the process.
And another thing, mistakes show you exactly what you need to work on. It's like your brain giving you a personalized learning map.
Oh, I love that. A mistake isn't a failure, it's feedback. It's a signpost saying, hey, here's a spot to improve.
Yes, and once you stop seeing mistakes as something bad, learning becomes so much more fun. You start to explore, take risks, enjoy the journey.
And that's what fluency is built on: curiosity, effort, and a whole bunch of beautiful, helpful mistakes.
So if you're listening right now, we want you to celebrate your next mistake. Seriously, give yourself a little cheer when it happens.
Because every mistake you make means you're speaking. And every time you speak, you're getting better.
All right. Up next, we'll share some real-life examples and even act out a fun little dialogue to show how mistakes can lead to better learning.
Okay, let's bring this to life with some real stories because we've seen over and over how making mistakes actually helps people become more fluent.
Yeah, so here's one of my favorites. I had a student named Amir. He was super passionate about learning English, but always got his sentence order mixed up. Like, instead of saying, I went to the store, he'd say, to the store I went.
Haha, sounds like Yoda from Star Wars.
Totally. But you know what? He kept talking. He laughed at his mistakes, and we corrected them gently. After a few weeks, his sentence structure got way more natural. Why? Because he kept using the language even when it wasn't perfect.
That's the magic. Practice plus a good attitude leads to progress. And speaking of fun, how about we do a quick role play to show how this works?
Let's do it. I'll be the learner making some classic mistakes, and you can be the friend in the conversation.
All right, here we go.
Hello, Jason. Yesterday I go to big market. I buyed many fruit, apple, orange, and grapeses.
Haha, nice. Okay, small correction. Yesterday I went to a big market and I bought many fruits, apples, oranges, and grapes.
Ah, yes. I went not go, and bought, not bade, grapes, not grapeseed. Too many S.
You got it. But you know what? I totally understood what you meant, and that's what matters first.
Thanks. I feel silly, but I learn more when I speak, even wrong.
Exactly. Fluency loves mistakes.
See? That's what real learning looks like. It's messy, but it's also fun and effective.
And when learners make mistakes like that out loud, they remember the correction way better than if they just read it in a book.
Also, when you're brave enough to speak, people want to help you. No one's judging, they're usually impressed you're speaking their language at all.
That's so true. Most native speakers don't care if you mess up a tense. They care if they can understand you and connect.
So embrace those little grapeses moments. They're golden.
Up next, we'll share some super practical tips on how you can train yourself to be comfortable making mistakes and even use them to grow. All right, now that we've talked about how mistakes can actually help you improve your English, let's dive into some tips. We're going to give you a few simple ways to embrace those mistakes and turn them into progress.
Tip number 1, record yourself speaking. This one is huge. Record a short video or audio of yourself speaking English. Don't worry about making mistakes, just focus on speaking.
Exactly. When you listen back, you'll hear things like your intonation, the flow of your sentences, and even where you pause too much. You'll catch mistakes in a non-judgmental way, and you can laugh about them. Plus, you'll see how much progress you're making over time.
Tip number 2, join conversation clubs or groups. Get out there and talk with other learners. I know it can be intimidating, but trust me, everyone there is on the same journey. We're all making mistakes.
Yes, and you'll get feedback from others who are also trying to improve. Sometimes it's easier to hear a mistake from someone else than from yourself. Plus, the more you speak in these groups, the more confident you'll feel.
Tip number 3, talk to yourself in English. It sounds a little weird, but it works wonders. You can do it while you're cooking, walking, or just hanging out at home.
Yeah, just talk through your day, describe what you're doing, or even tell yourself a story. The important thing is to keep speaking, even if it feels awkward. Your brain will get used to finding the right words faster.
And tip number 4, don't correct yourself in the middle of a sentence. This one's a big one. When you're speaking, resist the urge to stop and fix a mistake. Just keep going. Native speakers don't stop every time they make a small error, so you shouldn't either.
Yes, exactly. If you stop to correct every little thing, it breaks the flow. The point is to communicate, not to be perfect. And remember, your listener will usually understand you even if you make a mistake.
And lastly, give yourself permission to make mistakes. Don't be hard on yourself when you get something wrong. Mistakes are a sign that you're doing something new, which is exactly how you learn.
So true. If you treat mistakes as a normal part of the process, you'll start to see them as stepping stones instead of obstacles.
Exactly. And trust me, the more mistakes you make, the better you'll get. It's a natural part of becoming fluent.
All right, coming up next, we're going to talk about how to shift your mindset and start seeing mistakes as progress instead of something to fear. All right, let's wrap up with one final, super important thought. It's all about shifting your mindset. If you want to speak more fluently, you need to start seeing mistakes as progress, not failure.
Yes. Think about it this way. Every time you make a mistake, you're one step closer to fluency. It's like leveling up in a game. You can't level up if you never try, right?
Exactly. And here's a great way to think about it. When you make a mistake, it's a sign that you're pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. Growth never happens inside the comfort zone.
And don't forget, even the most experienced English speakers, even native speakers, make mistakes all the time. But they keep going, because it's not about being perfect. It's about communicating and learning.
Right. So next time you make a mistake, instead of feeling embarrassed or frustrated, celebrate it. It means you're improving. Every mistake is a lesson in disguise.
Yes, and the more you make, the more confident you'll become. Your brain is actually rewiring itself, getting stronger each time you learn from your mistakes.
So, embrace it. Make mistakes. And keep speaking. Because fluency isn't about perfection, it's about progress.
And that's what we want for all of you. To keep growing, keep learning, and never be afraid to make a mistake.
Well said, Julia. That's all for today's episode. Remember, fluency loves mistakes.
Thanks for listening, everyone. Don't forget to leave us a comment with your favorite mistake you've made while learning English, and we'll see you next time.
Take care and keep speaking. And that's a wrap on today's episode of Fluency Loves Mistakes. We hope you're feeling more confident about making mistakes and using them to fuel your learning.
Remember, fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about being brave enough to speak, mess up, and grow. So go out there, make those mistakes, and keep improving.
Before we go, if you found today's episode helpful, please take a second to subscribe, rate, and leave a review. It really helps us reach more learners like you.
And don't forget to share this episode with your friends who might need a little encouragement to embrace their mistakes too.
Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Keep speaking and keep learning.
See you next time.